I did grow up in a Christian household.
Oh, you did?
My mom was super strict. Like, we couldn't do a lot of things. We couldn't have Pokemon cards.
Same.
We couldn't watch That's So Raven. we couldn't watch like anything with like witches or anything.
Yes,
in it.
same.
Like, there was like so much stuff that we couldn't do. But
Yeah.
my mom and my dad were huge wrestling fans.
No.
It's like, if you love something enough and you really think that you are like truly sent, it won't matter if you make it, because the progression that you make through the journey your character and in other people's lives, like, that should be well worth it. I signed a contract with AEW at, I think I was 22 years old, turning 23 years old. Yeah.
And that's like a big opportunity.
Oh,
to
yeah,
be
yeah.
in AEW is massive.
Life-changing.
Let's talk a little bit about your faith, because maybe people don't know, because you're rolling with the Death Riders, but you're in your own faith journey. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Thrive, where I believe you were created to thrive and not made to survive. And if you change yourself, you can change your world. Welcome to the podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Alex Sagat. Glad that you are tuning in. Welcome to all the new Thrivers. Thank you for subscribing. The channel has been growing little by little. Me and Michael here behind the scenes, we talked about this a couple years ago, and now to see almost a year and a half later all that God has done. Thank you for all the messages. Thank you for all the DMs. Thank you for all the support. We really appreciate it to see this taking off little by little. And just remember, I believe Thrive is a spirit. It's a mindset. And if you do think like a leader, act like a leader, your world will begin to change. So if you have not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Today, we're really excited. I got a special guest in the building, has been with us for the last few months now. And today we're going to get to know him, hear about all that God is doing in his life. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to Thrive. Daniel Garcia, come on.
What's good, Pastor Alex? Thanks for having
amazing.
me.
Come on. No, thank you. Thank you for being here. How you doing? How's everything?
Man, I'm doing great. I won't lie. I've been a little tired lately. The travel's
traveling?
kind of been a lot.
Yeah.
But, I feel great, and I'm really blessed to be here. So thank you for having me.
We were talking a little bit off the camera now. Your travel schedule is insane. Yeah. And so you are constantly jumping on a plane multiple times a week. Let's first talk a little bit about who you are and introduce yourself for those that don't know. Daniel Garcia is an AEW wrestler. You've been doing it for a few years now. And somewhere along that path, that journey, we'll talk today. You've now started a new life, a new walk, and God is doing some things in your life. But for those that don't know, Daniel Garcia, AEW wrestling, what does your life look like right now? What is AEW? Tell us a little bit about your world.
Yeah, AEW, it's a professional wrestling company. And I think most people, even if you don't watch wrestling, I feel like everyone went through a phase when they were a kid where either they watch wrestling or they know somebody that watch wrestling. So yeah, it's a wrestling company. We're on TV on TNT and TBS every Wednesday and every Saturday. So we have like live shows in front of arenas and music halls and all that kind of stuff in front of, like live fans of like thousands of people. And, we air on TV. So it can be a little hectic of a lifestyle for sure.
So you're constantly traveling, not just around the country. I know you got a couple of shows in Mexico, and then I think you've done Japan as well.
Yeah, I mean, we have shows in all over the world, like Australia, the UK, Mexico, like all over the world. It's a different
constantly
city.
On the go.
Yeah.
I'm going to date myself here a little bit. So I did grow up, born and raised here in Miami, and like all the young guys we were talking as well right now before we began, I was watching wrestling. So a little bit about me and my family. My parents did not want us to watch wrestling. I grew up in a Christian home. My parents, they weren't like too strict, but on certain things they were. But if they would catch us watching wrestling, they would get so upset. But all the friends in our neighborhood were in love with wrestling. And I remember me and my brother, trying to watch a little bit. And so for us, it was Ultimate Warrior. Hulk Hogan. I don't know. I'm going back in the ages. I'm up there. I'm 42. So those are the guys I grew up watching. Obviously, The Undertaker, a legend. And then I think as we got older is when The Rock started coming out and all of that. Did you always grow up watching wrestling, loving wrestling?
So I was just telling Michael off camera. He was saying the same thing. He grew up in a Christian household. Or he said he didn't grow up in a Christian household, but he still wasn't allowed to watch wrestling. Yeah. But I was the complete opposite. I did grow up in a Christian household.
Oh, you did?
And, my mom was super strict. Like, we couldn't do a lot of things. We couldn't have Pokemon cards.
Same.
We couldn't watch That's So Raven. we couldn't watch like anything with like witches or anything.
Yes,
in it.
same.
Like, there was like so much stuff that we couldn't do. But my mom and my dad were huge wrestling fans.
No.
So we were allowed to watch wrestling, you know, like that was
That
something that
is wild.
Yeah, we could always watch it, but you know, there was a time, I will say, maybe when I was like 8, 7 years old, something like that, where wrestling was getting a little bad.
Yeah.
So like my mom made us take a break for a couple years, and then I started watching it again in high school. Like I think she kind of forgot about it.
Yes.
And I was like, you know, I'm gonna start watching wrestling again. So.
That is so okay. So very similar upbringing then. So
Yeah.
I couldn't. I remember when we were really young, my parents got us some Ninja Turtles. Right, you know, we're like 5, 6 years old. Everybody loved Ninja Turtles, and my parents had bought us like this collection. After like 2, 3 years, we had a nice collection. Some preacher comes into town. Right, I must have been now 8, 9 years old, and says that Ninja Turtles are from the devil, and he starts talking all these negative things about Ninja Turtles. My parents went home and threw all that away.
Yeah.
I was so heartbroken as a kid. I'm like, wait, this is like, we had everything, the little minivan, I think it was Shredder, a minivan, all the Ninja Turtles, some little kind of like dungeon that they used. I mean, I'm talking about, we had a whole 6 set after, 3 years of collecting stuff. They threw all that away. So yeah, similar. And whenever wrestling came out, if they would see us, they'd be like, oh, too much violence. It's crazy. So we couldn't watch it. Secular music. I still remember when one of my friends started playing something in the car one time, and I'm like, I'm not supposed to listen to this. I was like 12, 13 years old,
Yeah.
and all the guys in the neighborhood, we were going to like McDonald's or something, and I'm like, what are they putting? So very similar upbringing. So you grew up in a Christian home.
Yeah,
Wow.
my mom was, she was Catholic when I was a baby, but I think right when I was born, like 1, 2 years old, she got like radically saved, and
amazing.
we started going to Christian church, and my mom served in ministry. She led youth ministry and children's church, so I grew up in the church.
Okay, so that is Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo, New York.
Born and raised in Buffalo.
Yes, sir.
Very different than Miami, where you've been living for the past year.
So different from Miami. Like it's night and day, man. Like,
Are you enjoying Miami?
I like Miami.
Yeah.
Buffalo, it gets so cold.
It looks insane.
It is insane. And you talk about like New York and stuff like that, like New York City, they'll be like, oh, we get so much snow. It's like, that's not real snow.
Yeah.
Like you don't have real snow if you don't walk out and it's not up to your hip. Like that's a real snow day for us.
Crazy.
And you still got to go to school. And you got to brush off your car, and you still got to make it to class. Like,
so how was your life growing up?
Oh yeah,
normal,
yeah.
all the time, every winter.
That's still my life now when I go back, like shoveling the driveway.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Wow. So Miami, now is absolutely different, way different than that polar opposite. We grow up like sweating. We're going to school sweating. It's humid, mosquitoes. People are like, it's a paradise. I'm like, yeah, sometimes. Other times it's just extremely hot.
That's the thing, though. I feel like if I had like a normal 9 to 5. Where I had to like show up every day like in a nice shirt and stuff, I feel like I would hate mine.
Yeah.
Just you got to walk to your car. You probably got pit stains. Like it sounds tough.
Yeah,
like, that sounds tough.
It is rough. I guess I'm born and raised here, so you end up. I'm sure the same thing in Buffalo. You end up kind of like just acclimating, and you get used to it. Buffalo's been on the map, I think, for the last couple of years between you and. I know in hip hop there's a group. I think you've worked with them as well because they're into wrestling.
Yeah.
The whole Griselda family and all that they're doing, West Side and all of that. They're huge wrestling fans as well. You guys have collaborated. So you grew up loving wrestling. Were you always just a fan of it?
Yeah, like my mom was watching wrestling since birth. So like some of my earliest childhood memories, I was thinking about this the other day, is watching wrestling and doing stuff in church. And it's crazy. Awesome. And like I have in my mom's basement, she keeps every like piece of art that we have from school and stuff like that, anything we've ever colored, anything we ever drawn. In one of my classes when I was young, maybe like preschool, kindergarten, we had to do this project where there's a silhouette of your head that you had to trace out.
Okay.
Cut it out and paste it to a piece of paper. And take like newspaper clippings or printouts of things that you love in your life. Yeah. And I was looking at it in my mom's basement recently, and it's all wrestling stuff and it's all Christian stuff.
That is,
and I'm like, dang, like that's just like the perfect representation of like what my life has become.
Yeah. You're
like,
two passions. Yeah. You love the Lord and you love wrestling.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
Man, it's changed over time. I think like when I was a kid, I loved The Undertaker.
Yeah.
But like as I got older, like preteen, teenager, this guy named Daniel Bryan, or Brian Danielson is his other wrestling name. And he's my childhood hero. He's, still like a really important like mentor to me, someone that I really
so you were able to meet him?
Oh yeah, I've wrestled him a bunch of times.
No way.
Yeah.
What is that experience? Growing up, watching this guy, a hero, and now then you get to wrestle him in front of all these fans. Must have been wild.
It's crazy. I feel like I've had so many moments like that in my life where there's just people that I grew up really, really appreciating, and that I had such an admiration for.
Yeah.
And now I get to call them mentors, friends, and I get to perform with them, and you don't have actual relationships with them.
I love that.
It's such a blessing.
I love that you're using that word mentor. Thrive is all about leadership. So let's talk a little bit about that. What is a mentor to you? How does that look like in your life? Because I try to counsel people, and say, hey, get some accountability in your life, somebody that can coach you, that can help you. What do these mentors do in your life? How do they help you?
Yeah, I feel like a mentor has been different for me in different areas of my life. When you start to value different things, mentors kind of look a little bit different, like as they should. Because somebody who in one season, the Christian buzz phrase, but in one season of your life, you're chasing different things and you want different things versus a different season. So mentorship changes as well, and I think that's healthy. I think hopefully you can find somebody one day that really does align with all of your values, that and you can take that mentorship to the end. I feel like I have some mentors in my life now that really, really have the same values as me and appreciate the same things that I do in life. And just working hard, being a good person. And I have one right now. I was telling you a couple minutes ago, John Moxley, he's somebody who has helped me so much. He inspires me to just do better and be the best version of myself.
That's so cool.
In wrestling and in real life. He has a great family, and I could talk about Mox all day. He's one of my favorite people on the planet. And
very cool.
He's just helped me so much and is a great mentor of mine.
Sounds like a good leader. And what would that mentorship relationship look like? Is this somebody you would call maybe once a week? You guys are talking through some things in life. Whenever you have a question, what does that relationship look like?
Yeah, the thing with these people on the road is I spend time with them more than I see my family.
Okay, so Moxley's with you.
Yeah.
You see him all the time at events. He's with you. He's there. Is he though? Yes, that's right. You were telling he's there. Whether you guys are wrestling or not, he's at the event.
Every single week. He is somebody who is all about self-sacrifice, about dying to yourself. Wow. And he's just a great representation of that, putting other people first before yourself. Yeah. And I just look up to him so much when it comes to that stuff. And
very cool.
I try to emulate myself after him in a wrestling sense in a lot of ways.
I've had the opportunity to talk to a few athletes, and I think all of you are saying the same thing. Leadership is way more than what you do on a field or in a ring. Leadership is how you carry yourself even in the locker room, right? Being the first one there, being the last one to leave, how you treat people, how you talk to people. Talent is great, but you need to have that character. We say it all the time. Churches around the pastors, I've heard my whole life saying that is that your gifts can take you to a certain level, but it's your character that will keep you there. Yes. And so you talked about Moxley. It sounds like he's a guy, a man of character. And he's always around. It's how you carry yourself. It's how you show who you really are when nobody's watching. Yeah, and that's absolutely important, because you can have all the gifts. You can be the best wrestler in the world, but if you have poor character, you won't be up there too long.
That's what I tell people whenever there's a young upstart wrestler asking me yo, how do I make it? I tell them, wrestling is very, very important. Try to be the best that you can be and use your gifts and stuff like that. But character, like you're saying, will take you much, much further.
Absolutely.
I would much rather work with somebody who is an okay wrestler, but a great person, than an amazing wrestler and somebody who's just hard to deal with.
Absolutely.
And that's in any aspect of life. You can have all the gifts in the world. If you're just somebody that, is bitter, somebody who is talking bad about other people, just somebody who is generally tough to be around, you're not going to make it far in anything. And even if you do make it far, like you said, you're not going to stay there for very long.
Yeah, 100%. That's leadership. That's leadership right there, what you're talking about. We say the same thing. You're talking about language. We say the same thing at church. Whenever we get together for a dream team meeting or leadership meeting, I tell people all the time, I'm more interested about the character in your heart than the talent in your hand. I'm glad you can do sound. I'm glad you want to be part of a church. You want to be an employee. You want to be here full time. But how's your character? Are you easy to be around? Are you easy to, even cross lines and help out another team that's not your team? If it's all about you and your platform and what you can do, that's going to be tough to work with. But if you're somebody that's I'm here to help make everybody better, character is absolutely genius. Let's go back to wrestling for a little bit. So you grew up loving wrestling. Yeah. How do you get into something like AEW? How was that transition from being a kid in Buffalo who loved it to ending up in AEW?
Yeah, wrestling is I think it's one of those things when you're a kid, it's like being an astronaut or a firefighter or something like that. That's like, oh, like I would like to be that one day. But wrestling is unique because you really don't know like any path to wrestling. It's such like a niche thing. And in a lot of ways, it's kind of like, you know, gate kept in a lot of ways. And I'm a skinny kid from Buffalo, you know what I'm saying? Like, I see John Cena, who's like 250 pounds of solid muscle. I'm like, how would I ever do that? Like, that just doesn't seem like feasible for me. But my mom I got the best mom in the world. Like, like single mother, like broke our whole lives, but like, you know, never made us feel like we were broke. Like, I just got the best mom in the world.
Oh,
like,
that's amazing.
She was great. And she used to go out of her way to like take me to wrestling shows all across the country. Like, we would drive like 6 hours to like Ohio to go watch a wrestling show that I wanted to watch. Like, she was just, you know, so perfect and so amazing. And so we started going to like local wrestling shows in like fire halls in Buffalo, New York. Like small shows.
So little small shows. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they were rowdy.
Yeah, like crazy in front of like 200 people. And I met a guy there that when I was like 17 years old that ran a wrestling school. And I started training with him. And then, you know, that's kind of your rise in wrestling. You start off.
And your mom was like, go for it.
Yeah. Like, my mom is my biggest fan, my biggest supporter.
What's your mom's name?
Jackie.
Shout out to Jackie. Yeah, that is amazing. So at 17, you are now going to wrestling school. Your mom's supportive. And are you already thinking like, I can maybe have a career in this? Or you were just kind of like, I'm just trying something out?
So that's the thing. Like, wrestling is very, very, it's like being a musician. You start off like very bare bones. Like I said, I'm wrestling in front of like 50 people at like flea markets and stuff to start off. And you just kind of like work your way up, and you meet this person who knows this person and gets you booked on, you know? Instead of a flea market, now you're wrestling in a fire hall. And then instead of a fire hall, you're wrestling in front of like a small music venue, and you just kind of work your way up and
little by little. Is this like flea markets in Buffalo? Or you were already traveling? We used to have a flea market here where I remember there was some wrestling matches.
I was, not here, but like I was driving all across like I was in college at the time, and I would drive from like, you know, Buffalo to Toronto to Maine.
To make it to the matches?
To make it to the, like for like $20, you know what I'm saying? Drive 2 hours to Toronto, wrestle. Drive 12 hours to Maine for $20, and then make it back to Buffalo in time for my 8 a.m. college course, you know? So you just start off like very small, and then hopefully you catch a break one day, and, you know.
Let's talk about really quick for a second. Sorry to you. Let's talk about dedication. I think there's a lot of young guys, and you're still young, but there's a lot of young guys that have aspiration dreams, whether it's to be a wrestler, whether it's to be in some sport, a doctor, a lawyer. And I think nowadays, I don't know, maybe I'm becoming old. I don't see a lot of the discipline and dedication. And anytime you want to reach any kind of heights, you're going to need some discipline and some dedication. I mean, for you to drive and then go back to college and be responsible, where do you think that determination and discipline came from? Is that something you grew up with your mom?
Yeah, definitely my mom. Like, I grew up like perfect attendance from preschool all the way throughout high school. So my mom was a big believer in like, you know, if you dedicate yourself to something, you're going to do it. You know?
Absolutely.
I never missed a practice for any sport. Like, and my mom, something she always harped on when I was a kid was, you know, not getting instant gratification.
Very good.
That was a big thing that she harped on. That's something that I still think of. So, and I think a lot of people just want instant gratification. A lot of people, they start something, and once it gets a little hard, they're like, you know, maybe this isn't for me. Like, maybe I don't want to do this. But, you know, the hardness is part of the journey, and it's something that you should welcome, and it's something that will forge you. And, you know, so when you get to hopefully to the top, and one day maybe you'll never make it. Like, most people who do like creative endeavors, you know, like, let's be honest, like, they won't make it. But it's like, if you love something enough and you really think that you are like truly sent and you belong there, you know, it won't matter if you make it, because the progression that you make through the journey in your character and in other people's lives, like, that should be well worth it.
Very good.
So
very good.
I feel like my mom just always harped on discipline and denying instant gratification, you know, for my entire life.
I'm glad you brought that up. We're living in a world right now that is intoxicated with instant gratification. You know, social media is, you want to like right away, you want to DM right away, you want something to hit right away. And I think you're talking some language that needs to be talked about even more. Learning to die to yourself and learning the journey, the process, of little by little letting go of some of that stuff. I mean, now we're getting into the science of it, and people have seen like it's dopamine hits. Yeah. And if you don't get that, you become depressed, you become discouraged, and we're facing a generation that's going to have to learn how to deal with that. And, you know, at all ages, but especially this young generation. I'm thinking about 13, 14-year-olds that right now on social media, and it's creating maybe some brain patterns that are not going to be healthy. But you were dedicated. Take us to some of those early wrestling days. Can you tell me, what's an experience of like wrestling at a flea market or at a fire hall? What were those like? You're 17, 18, 19?
Yeah, like, and I was doing that from when I was, you know, probably 18 until 22, 21, 22 was when I got signed to AEW.
Okay.
So, you know, I was wrestling in those environments for...
You'd walk into this flea market, you change an outfit, you're like, I'm going to go out there in front of 50, 100, 200 people. And was it crazy? Was it rowdy? People already screaming and saying stuff?
You know, you want the rowdiness. Like, the rowdiness is fun to perform in front of. The worst is like when you show up and it's like, you know, it's just a crowd of friends and family of the people, and like they do not care about wrestling at all. They're just here to like watch their uncle or like their cousin. And it's just like an entire audience, like family members who, you know, could not care any less about wrestling. They leave after their family's matches. So by the time the last match is on, there's like, you know, 10 people there. Yeah. But, you know, that's where you learn. Like, you really start to like learn like crowd control and how to, even if people like don't want to necessarily, they're not there to watch you. Like, they're not there to enjoy wrestling. Yeah. But you can still get them. Like, there's still tricks to, like, you know, get those people entertained and to get them involved. So I feel like those environments where you're wrestling in front of those.
Did you learn that in the early years?
Yeah.
That's where you're, like, cutting your teeth on, like, you know, crowd participation.
Still learning. Like, it's a learning process every single week. But
okay, so you can paint us a picture. What are, I mean, you don't have to say all the tricks, but what's something you do to get, like, a crowd involved?
Wrestling, it's all feeling and it's all emotion.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people think that wrestling is about, you know, moves and body slams and elbow drops. You know, that is an important part, you know, obviously like the physical part, but the most important part of wrestling is connecting with people and making people feel. Okay. So I feel like you can do all the coolest moves in the world, like flips and stuff like that. If people don't care about you as a performer and as a character, they're not going to care about the stuff that you do. Okay. You know, so if you can connect with people and make people feel involved and make them feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, like part of the show, you know, like the fans are going to like you. That's awesome. Because they see themselves in you a little bit. So if you can be relatable to the fans, you know, that's the key. If you
would do that through like some of the interviews before and after,
or even if just like, you know, say people in wrestling fans don't know what it feels like to maybe take like a move off the top rope. But people know what it feels like to get like punched in the stomach. Yeah, okay. Or put in a headlock. Or they know what it feels like if their boss has been yelling at them for a week and you just had enough and you finally want to snap. Yeah. Like, if you can do those relatable things to the crowd that everybody can relate to and not just, you know, us in the little wrestling bubble, that will take you way further.
Very cool. Yeah, I love this. I'm learning.
It's all about connection. That's all wrestling.
I'm gonna show up with you at a ring one day and try to get punched in the stomach and see if we get some crowd relatability.
You know what I'm saying though? Like people don't know what it feels like to take like a move off the top rope.
Yeah, no,
like,
what you're saying makes absolute sense.
But everybody knows what it feels like to get the wind knocked out of them. You know, so if you can be relatable to them, like they will feel that, and
that
they
is
will
very cool. Yeah. Well, you are absolutely crushing it. So I remember you started showing up at church several months ago, and when you walked in, again, it's been years since I've watched wrestling. You know, ministry got super busy, and as the church has been growing and all of that, it's just I haven't watched. And a couple of guys are like, "That's Daniel Garcia," and so they knew you. So I know now you're recognized. People know you. But tell us what's, from my understanding, I don't know if you still are. You would be part of the bad guys of the AEW. Mm-hmm. Am I saying? Am I accurate in saying that?
Yeah, I'm a bad guy.
Are you still with? Was it the Death
Riders?
Death Riders. There we go. Okay, the Death Riders. Does that mean you get a lot of fans that are absolutely booing you guys and upset at you guys and all that? What's the most intense atmosphere you've been on? And like, maybe if you can remember an arena, a city where it was just like, okay, this is wild.
Man, there's been times like fans have tried to fight me before. Like at a show in LA, like a fan tried to fight me. We had to walk out. Like I thought I was gonna get stabbed. No. I didn't, thankfully. We got a very good security team. But one time, this was a couple months ago, we had a show in Mexico for CMLL, Arena Coliseo. And the fans in Mexico are like the best wrestling fans in the world.
Wow.
Because I think there's still like a large percentage that feel like the realism.
Yeah.
And like they want to feel like it's real.
Yes.
And I remember we were the bad guys. We were wrestling, you know, people from Mexico. So like, and we're the foreigners in the country. So it's like, you know, people really hated us.
Wow.
And I remember like we walked out of the building and just a mob of fans like flipping us off, swearing at us.
Oh my goodness.
And like we had to have like a police escort. Like
so you're in character, right? Like this, you're in character, but at the same time, you're like, wait, am I safe?
Yeah, like we had to have a police escort out of the building.
Wow.
But that's what makes you kind of like feel alive in those moments. Like you want to get, as my job, it's as a bad guy. You know, we want to make the fans as angry as possible.
Yeah.
So when the good guy beats us, the fans are happy.
Yeah, everybody loses their mind.
So, you know, that's our job. So if the fans really hate me, like I'm doing my job right, I guess.
I think I was going to catch you at a show in Mexico. I was in Mexico maybe 8 months ago. And they told us Sunday night. Was it a Sunday night?
Yeah.
I was speaking all weekend at a church in Mexico, good friends of ours that are down there in Mexico City. And they said, okay, you have to go to this arena. It
Arena
gets
Mexico,
wild. Yes. And last minute, we had some dinner with some pastors and we weren't able to get there on time. But one of our other friends did that was there. And he said it was intense, that the arena gets loud, that it was wild.
They do. Especially Fridays is the big day for Arena Mexico. It's like a sellout every single week. CMLL is amazing. Like they sell out the same building multiple times a week.
Wow.
To be able to do that is any form of entertainment is literally insane.
Well, what people that haven't watched any type of wrestling for a long time, I still, again, from time to time, check it. It's massive. Wrestling is massive all around the world. Okay, so you go from being this 19, 20-year-old guy who's learning literally what this is all about, and you're doing all these shows. How do you get connected to AEW?
So one of my trainers was actually, he's from Buffalo. His name's Pepper Parks. He was someone I grew up watching like as a kid, like at these local shows.
Okay.
And he kind of got his big break like later on in life. He's somebody who stayed consistent, stayed with the grind, and didn't really get his big break until he was like 40 years old. So that just goes to show you, like, if you stay disciplined, if you stay in the grind, if you really love what you do, it can pay off one day.
Yeah.
And, you know, he got his break with AEW, and he was there for like 2 years. And, you know, my boss, Tony, he is the biggest wrestling fan on the planet. Like, I thought I was a wrestling fan, but my boss is infinitely more times a wrestling fan than I am. So he watches like literally everything. Like the shows in the bingo halls, he watches those.
Cool. Still.
Yes. And he owns the Jaguars, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he owns like a Premier League soccer team, Fulham FC, and AEW. So he's like a really, really busy guy. But
loves wrestling.
Wrestling is his number one passion.
Wow.
And so he watches like every wrestling show in the world, I feel like. So he was familiar with my work, and I think because...
And that's just from doing all these...
Yeah.
Wow, your name just started getting around.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think because of the rapport that I had with my trainer and the rapport that I had with a lot of people at AEW, like I think people were willing to vouch for me and say like, you know, not only is this guy a good wrestler, like he's probably somebody that you want to have on your team as well. And yeah, that's how I was able to get my foot in the door, and took me a couple months of, you know, going there and, you know, cutting my teeth, but I ended up making it.
That's crazy how your discipline speaks for you.
Yeah.
And that's something we try to preach about here all the time, something I'm learning and still learning, right? Like your character will literally go around the world before you do. And people will know who you are, and people will speak either well of you or not, all depending on what you do behind the scenes. You think people are not watching, but they're watching.
Facts.
And they will be sharing. So at what age did you finally sign the contract with AEW where like, I'm going to the big leagues, basically?
I signed a contract with AEW at, I think I was 22 years old, turning 23 years old. Yeah.
And that's like a big opportunity. To be in AEW is massive.
Life-changing.
What's going on through your mind at that time when you're like, are you feeling like, I made it, here we go?
I was just so happy, like...
Your mom must have been so proud.
Oh, still is. Like, I'll bring my mom to shows sometimes.
Very cool.
Like, I'll fly her out to, like, you know, if I have, like, a big show, I'll bring her out to it.
Yeah.
And my mom is just, like, so happy. Like,
that is amazing.
She'll wear, like, my T-shirts. Like, she'll bring a sign for me. Like, my mom is my biggest
awesome.
fan. But completely life-changing. Like, wrestling and my boss, you know, changed my life.
Wow.
1,000,000%. Like I said, like, I grew up as, like a broke kid in Buffalo. Like, single mom, like, my brother and my sister and me, like, just being wrestling fans.
Yeah.
And wrestling just completely changed my life.
Wow.
And, you know, my family's life too.
Yeah, people may not know that about you. They see you, you know, on TV. They see you in arenas. They see you now on this massive platform growing up. I say sometimes we all came from the same street, most of us, which is Struggle Street.
Yeah.
And we came from not a whole lot of opportunity, not a whole lot of income, we don't have the best economic status. Our parents were doing the best they could. What are some of your memories in Buffalo of just not having stuff, not being able to afford some stuff, and just going through struggles?
That's the beauty of it. And that's why I say I have the best mom in the world. Like, I didn't realize that we were broke until I got older. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just because my mom, like, sacrificed. So I was thinking about the other day when I was driving, it like made me really emotional. Because my mom said to me recently, she was like, I didn't buy myself a new pair of shoes for 13 years.
Wow.
I was like, dang,
that's insane. That's insane.
And my mom, like, just like in hindsight, just seeing her sacrifice so much, just so her kids could have like a good life is, I think, like, just like the biggest blessing that I have here on earth.
Wow.
And it really does make me emotional, like, talking about it. She's so fantastic, and just seeing the sacrifices that she made for me and her kids.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like, seeing her faithfulness of even going through so much struggle. And my mom was, dealt a bad hand in like a lot of ways. Never turned her back on God.
Wow.
Always was in church every single week, like,
wow.
making us be in church on Wednesdays and Sunday. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, never turned her back, just praised God, and it was just faithful through all of it. Like,
wow.
And I'm sure there were times where she felt doubtful and stuff.
Absolutely.
But I never
that
saw,
on you. Yeah.
I never saw her feeling doubtful to God at all. And I feel like, dang, like, she was worshiping God and praising God with her full heart through these really, really tough times for her. There were times where I'm sure, and I know she's told me, where she was like, I didn't know how we were going to do it, but like, we did it anyways. And I love my mom so much. She's
such valuable
fantastic.
lessons. I think that's something I've heard about since I was young. I would say in a very similar way, my parents, you don't find out some stuff until you're older. You're like, well, I didn't know how rough we had it, or I didn't know what tough times, some of our parents were going through. But when you don't involve your kids in that, when you don't show them too much, and you just let them kind of just enjoy the journey, and you keep being faithful to God, you keep worshiping God. Like, all I remember is seeing my parents every Sunday raising their hands. I still remember as a young kid just looking up, and my parents, both of them with their hands raised and worshiping God, a smile on their face. I still remember that. And now as an adult, I'm like, life is hard.
Yeah.
Life is tough. And, we, because of our parents' sacrifice, we have a way better opportunity than they did. But man, what an example.
For real.
To just be faithful.
For real, faithful. And like I said, just hid everything from us, but in like the best way. Like, always made sure there was food on our plates.
Yes.
Always had a roof on our heads.
Yeah.
Like, would get us new clothes for school every year and stuff like that. It's just, seeing the sacrifice she went through and the lengths that she went to make it work for her kids.
Beautiful.
Is like inspiring to me.
Beautiful. I think it's a protection of the spirit. Like, I want to protect my daughter's spirit, and she's going to know some stuff about our life, but for the most part, I'm going to try to put my best attitude, my best spirit, because I want to protect her spirit. And I want her to love the Lord. I want her to know that God is good. Yes, life is difficult. Yes, life is challenging. Life is full of struggle, and life is full of suffering, but it's going to make you better. But I'm not going to get home, with a bitter attitude, a bitter spirit, a down spirit, because I want my daughter to be strong and to believe that God is good and for us. And he's doing something in me. He's for me and shaping me. But in the meantime, I'm going to make you fall in love with the Lord, because he is good and kind, and you're going to see he's going to get us through. So what an example.
I feel like it's a protection of innocence as well.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, and I'm not a parent, but I never want to put any sort of struggle that I'm going through.
Yeah.
When I have a kid, hopefully if I have a kid one day, like on my kid. And like, that's just what my mom did. Like, she never made us feel like anything was our fault, or, never, showed her hand that she was going through a lot. And I feel like that is a protection of innocence.
Absolutely.
Because, I feel like you can probably speak to this better because you're a parent. When people kind of start to let their kids on those kinds of things, like resentment can build, and almost like a guilt can build too. Like, dang, is the reason why my parents going through it because is it my fault?
Is
like,
it me?
So I feel like it really is a
absolutely.
protection, like you said, of spirit and also innocence too.
Yeah, I think we're going to let our daughter walk her journey out with God. But anytime there's any issues with people or with church or my own, life and walk with God, I can't put that on her, because I'm going through that. It's something that I'm learning. It's something that God is shaping me in. And so my parents, we grew up in church, and now as I'm older, I hear about some of the drama that happened when we were young.
Yeah, same.
But my parents always just made us love the house of the Lord. I tell people all the time, it's like, you don't have to let your children in on everything because you want them to love God and to love the house of God. And so there was drama going on when I was young, but I didn't know about it because my parents just always with a smile, and we love pastor and we love the church, and because they just wanted me to fall in love with God and fall in love with his word. And so, I think your mom is a hero for doing that. And so it's absolutely incredible. Now that she gets to watch you and see you, what a journey that's been. As soon as you went into the AEW, were you part of like the bad guys immediately?
So I was a bad guy for a couple years, and then I was a good guy, and now I'm a bad guy again.
Oh, now you're a bad guy again.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Death Riders.
Fall into repeated cycles, man. Can't break these chains of being a bad guy, bro. Yeah.
The dark side got you again. Okay, so being with the Death Riders, is that like a group of guys, and you guys are just like ride together as a team?
Yeah, so this is a group of guys that...
Who forms that team?
John Moxley.
Okay.
John Moxley.
Okay, and who else is there wrestling with you in that belong to Death Riders?
A guy named Claudio Castagnoli, a guy from Switzerland, who's like an OG, been wrestling forever. Marina Shafir, like a former MMA fighter.
Okay.
Wheeler Yuta, somebody who I came up with on those small shows. Wow. So that's like, a very close friend of mine.
Very cool.
We're able to reap these benefits together now.
Okay.
And a guy from the UK named Pac.
Okay.
So
and Moxley's the leader.
Yeah, he's the leader. He brought us together, and we're all just under the same pretense that we are sacrificing for the company. AEW, I would say like a year ago was in, or like 2 years ago was in an interesting spot where I feel like it lost kind of like a lot of goodwill with the fans, and a lot of the fans didn't really feel like it was the AEW that first belonged to them.
Okay.
AEW was brought into the wrestling world as an alternative, as something to be different from WWE. And I feel like AEW got to a place where the fans felt like we weren't really an alternative anymore. We were just kind of, falling into the same patterns that other wrestling companies have fell into. And Mox, in my opinion, turned the ship around, man.
Wow.
He turned the ship around, and, I won't share his story completely because it's amazing. I'll tell you off camera. It's amazing the thing that he told me about this. But he really decided that he needed to take control and turn the ship around, and he did exactly that.
Wow.
And AEW is in a much better place right now than it was.
That's amazing.
When it was a year ago. So
wow. Yeah, so I can see now how he's a mentor and what he's done in his leadership and thinking maybe ahead and how to do stuff. Again, important in business and in leadership, you got to be 10 steps ahead and think, what can we do when certain seasons, again, of life are changing. Let's talk a little bit about your faith because maybe people don't know because you're rolling with the Death Riders, but you're in your own faith journey.
Yeah.
Know a little bit now that you grew up in a Christian home. Through the years, as you started wrestling at 17, 18, 19, is that something that still was strong in your life, or do you feel like you kind of lost your faith for a little bit, walked away, or what's your journey been like?
Definitely. So grew up in a Christian household, was, Christian my whole life, but there was definitely a period of my life for, I would say like after high school to like a couple years ago, to where, I was Christian. I considered myself a Christian, but I definitely was not, living like a Christian, and, I wasn't being a disciple of God. Like they were talking about at conference.
Yeah,
there's a difference between being a Christian and being a disciple. And, I definitely was not being a disciple. And I would say like, a couple years ago, maybe like 2-3 years ago at this point, I was going through contract negotiations at my job. And it was like the first time in my adult life where I just had time to like sit, not be on the road. I just had to like sit and relax and, not be at work for like a month or 2 months. And, God speaks to everybody in different ways. I didn't have like a crazy like encounter moment. Because I always had the faith from when I was a kid. I always thought, there's something that I should believe, but it was just always something that was told to me. It wasn't something that I experienced for myself or a journey that I found for myself. And I remember one day, like I was sitting on the couch and like YouTube had recommended me like, that YouTube channel, Bible Animations?
Yes, absolutely.
It was like a 2-hour-long video. It was called The Bible Through Satan's Point of View. And I was like, this just looks like an interesting video. Like, I'm going to watch it. And I watched it, and it just explained like the gospel to me in a way that was just super digestible, in a way that for some reason at this time in my life where I was like, I think like 25 years old, it just really clicked for me. Wow. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, okay, so like this this is just a way that I haven't had explained to me from a kid on, and from there, like I started just getting into like YouTube like rabbit holes of like apologetics and really into like the historicity of Christianity.
Yes.
And that was something I never focused on. I was just always focused on like, oh, like my mom is a Christian and, I'm a Christian too.
Yeah.
And, I believe this to be true. But I was like, oh no, like this is actually like historical fact.
Yes.
Not just something that we flip a coin on and we're like, oh, like this might be true, it might not be true. We'll see when we die. Yeah. Like, no, this is historical fact. This stuff is the truth. Yeah. And, from there, I just started like really, getting back in my word and, getting back into really like dedicating my life to Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say in very same way. I grew up in a Christian household, right? It's kind of like what we do. We go to church. We go to church, and I grew up in a Spanish church here in Miami. That means we have church every single night. I was in church Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think is the only day we had off, and then Sunday. But as you get older, you start to, kind of go through this process. Like, wait, what does this mean to me?
Yeah.
Is this real? Is this not? And I remember I had I think I was 19, 20 when I was like, I had an aunt that passed away. And that was my first real time of testing where I was kind of like, wait, what does this all mean? If God is good, why does suffering happen? And all those kind of questions that, and I think it's in those moments where you get, I was listening to a pastor yesterday, and he said, most saints have had the most precious times with God in times of suffering. We don't know why God allows it at the end of the day, but God disciplines us and he brings us closer, and you have some of the sweetest moments in suffering. And I felt like I grew in that 2-year process where I was trying to figure it out. And then same thing at 22, 23, got into apologetics and just like, wait, let's go figure this thing out. And I feel like you come out stronger. I've never been afraid of people asking questions. I've never been afraid of doubts or whatever. I'm like, no, if you really study this thing, you'll see it's real.
Yeah.
It is. Go do all your studies. Go ask all the questions. You're going to come out and you're going to say, wait, this is real. This is the real deal. What does faith mean to you today?
That's a loaded question. I feel like for me, like I said, it's been a journey over the past couple of years, and I feel like over the past couple of years, it's just like completely consumed my life. And I don't want to say I'm pessimistic, but I can be kind of skeptic about a lot of things. And still to this day, I feel very skepticism, not about my faith, but about people and stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of times, like, I definitely do this, where I'm skeptic, but I try to disguise it as discernment. So I feel like faith to me is just being in full surrender. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do lately. And, what I've been trying to do for the past couple of years is, take away my skepticism, but still have discernment and just be in full surrender. And, I'm realizing it's okay to ask God questions, why is this happening in my life? Why is this going on? Why is this happening in my friend's family's life? And God won't always reveal the answer to you. Where sometimes, can be frustrating. Yeah. But I feel like for me, like that's the best answers I can give, just being in full surrender. And I feel like I don't want to say I didn't have like a radical experience, but my progressive faith over the past couple of years, I feel like has been better for me than the casual Christianity that I was practicing for, 23 years of my life.
Yes.
And, I'm very lucky to have the roots and foundations that my mom set for me as a kid. And I'm really blessed to, like, live in a country that we can worship God and I can hear about God freely and I don't have to hide about it. But that's the main thing for me is just being in full surrender. And the progression of my faith over the past couple of years has been astounding to me.
Wow.
And I'm just in a place right now that, I really never thought I could be.
Wow.
Which is really amazing. And I feel like a lot of people, I talked to my mom about this recently, a lot of people find God when they're at like rock bottom in their life. And I feel like for me, it was like the complete opposite. So I just feel like I had got like a big promotion in my job and stuff basically. And like, that's where I found God. And I just feel like so blessed that like, even when I had like everything that I ever dreamed of, I still wanted more.
Yeah.
And God was still knocking at that door. Even when I thought that, like I got this stuff myself, like I was feeling like boastful, like, like all this is because of me, God did not let me take credit for it.
Wow.
And, he was still knocking at my door and still was just, wanted my heart.
Yeah,
and
that's beautiful.
I gave it to him. Yeah,
I
was rambling a little bit. I'm sorry, I was rambling.
No, that is come on. I love that. I love that you're saying that. I love that you're explaining it to us so that we can get a little bit of an inside look of what you've been going through the last couple of years with God. You dropped some bars. I love what you said. You said, "I was hiding my skepticism behind discernment."
Yeah,
and that's key. Because I think they are two very distinct, different things, and if we're not careful, I think, Dana says I'm extremely optimistic. So sometimes for me, I'm like, okay, I'm just very optimistic about people, about life, all that. And I got to be careful because sometimes I give people all this look at like, man, I just believe in everybody. I'm trying to. But, people will begin to show you different faces. And it's life. We're all humans. But we also got to be careful of not being too optimistic, but also not too pessimistic.
Yeah.
And it's human nature, and all of us have different personalities. And as we're going through that, if you just stay with a critical spirit or skeptic spirit, not that questions are bad, that's all good, but it's much different than having a discerning spirit.
For sure.
And I love that you said that because I think some people, that's going to be gold for them to say, I need to stop, always thinking certain ways about people or certain ways about things or certain ways about different institutions. And it's like, don't let also now give that to the enemy and turn that into a critical, closed spirit. Nothing wrong with discernment, but I think you also can't be that way. So I love to see that growth in you as well. That's powerful.
That's one of my big, I pray for that probably almost every day. I'm like, Lord, just take away my skepticism, but still give me a discerning spirit.
100%, yes.
Because I feel like, there's points where I just feel skeptic about like everything. You know what I'm saying? Like people, I'm like, there's no way this person is that nice. Since I started praying for that, it's just opened my eyes to a lot of new things, and it's just like made me have a better appreciation for people and people's love and people's personal encounters with God. Like I'm just trying to be like less skeptic about all those things. And so that prayer has been doing wonders for me lately.
Well, that comes with full surrender, what you talked about, and I love that you described it that way. I think that's a beautiful way of putting it. We have an app in our church where it's just kind of like for the people that work at church, and we get pictures from, a Sunday or full day, or we have conference, they load up sometimes, 500 pictures. And so sometimes I'm just going through those pictures to see how conference was or a Sunday was. And the other day, I got to send it to you. The other day, they took a picture of you during service. And I would say that picture describes you in full surrender. Wow. You just had your hands raised in worship. And I feel like you are being open to whatever the Spirit of God wants to do in your life. And I think that's the best place that you can be in. Yeah. And hopefully that's all of our postures, right? And as we do that, He will work.
For real.
And He will challenge us and convict us and mold us and shape us until we're conformed into the image of the Son, is what the Bible says.
I feel like it's something that we say all the time and that Christians say all the time, like, oh, I just want to be in full surrender to God. Oh, you should be in full surrender to God, all this. And I feel like that's something that we say and people hear, but we don't talk about a lot how to practice that and how, like, what that looks like in practice.
Very good.
And I feel like that's kind of what I've been trying to find more and more. Like, okay, like it's easy to say, God, I give it all to you. You can take my job, you can take my friends, you can take everything that you need. It's really easy to say that.
Yeah.
So lately I've just been praying to God, like, show me what that means in practice, and make sure that when I'm saying this, I really mean it too.
Yes.
Because it's easy to say it, but if you pray for that, there will come a time where God's got to check your gangster. Like, he's gonna say,
absolutely,
like,
He will.
Oh, you said that? Like, let's see if you really mean it.
Absolutely.
Like, let's see. You're saying you're gonna worship me. Like, if you lose your job, okay, let's take away your job.
Yeah.
You say, like, if you lose this relationship, let's lose your relationship.
Absolutely.
And like, you just have to prepare yourself for, I'm saying all this stuff. Let me make sure I actually mean it with like a true heart.
Absolutely.
And,
So we're talking about the I am statements of Jesus in church, and one of the I am statements is, I am the true vine. Yeah. And if we keep reading that passage of what Jesus is talking about, He says, I am the true vine, and the Father, He's the vine dresser, and He prunes, the branches. That means he cuts away.
Yeah.
So there's certain things that he will take away from our life. Like you're saying, it may be a job, it may be a relationship, a dream, a goal, an aspiration. Like you said, you had all these years of putting in work, fire halls and flea markets and whatnot, not knowing if you're going to make it.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, can you lay down some of these dreams? Can you say, God, I'll surrender some of this, and God will test you. He will, because he wants to make you into a better branch that's connected to the vine so that you produce much fruit. That's what the passage says in John 15. And so I love that you can say that, full surrender. God, do what you may in my life as you will. And as you do, I know it's for my good. It's always for my good.
I will say, like, over the past couple of years, like, I can finally say that, like, I am in a place where I, like, truly in my heart of hearts feel that no matter, like, what happened, I'll be good.
Wow.
I'm going to be okay. And I just feel so blessed to say that because, that's not a place that, if I'm being honest, I wasn't always in that place.
Yeah.
There was definitely times where, and still, like, at times today, I feel like I find my self-worth in my job, in my friendships, in my reputation. And, just every day, like, I pray, God, just, like, let me not find any self-worth in these things. Let me find only self-worth in you. And I feel like, I'm in a place where I feel like if I did lose everything, I think I would still be 100% good. I'll be all right.
My brother, you are preaching. You are preaching. You are not just a wrestler. You are a preacher. That is absolute gold. And that's spiritual maturity, as we're growing. And it's human nature. We all still have that struggle in what we do and who we are to our friends, to our peers, to our family, but yet fully surrendering to God. I'm satisfied in you. My ultimate satisfaction is in you. How does faith play a role now in your career in wrestling? When you're on the road, when you're in the locker rooms, how do you think faith is changing that?
So I feel like when I was a Christian kid growing up, when I wanted to be a wrestler, I always thought like, I'm going to show my faith so much when I'm a wrestler. And I'm going to I'm going to be a Christian wrestler, you know what I'm saying? And
Bible man.
Shout out Bible man, bro. I was talking to Javi about Bible man the other day.
Bible man was awesome.
Bible man was fire. I was like, okay, like, what does that mean, like, your faith in your career? And I always thought, like, growing up, like, it would mean, like, having, like, a Jesus fish, like, as my logo and stuff like that. But, like, as I got older, I realized, okay, have you ever heard the quote? I'm sure it's, like, a famous Christian quote. It's, like, I think it's, like, C.S. Lewis, maybe. It's, like, the Christian shoemaker doesn't make, like, glorify.
No, I had not heard that.
It's, like, the Christian shoemaker doesn't glorify God by putting crucifixes on the shoe. He glorifies God by making a better shoe.
That's so good.
You
yes,
know?
Actually, now that you said it, yes. That is gold.
So I feel like for me, I just really, really try to hone and master the gifts that God has given me. Like, I really, truly feel like I was put on this planet and given the gifts as a wrestler to be a wrestler.
Love that.
And I feel like my entire career, I was always kind of embarrassed to being a wrestler. Whenever people would ask me like, like, what's your job? Be like, like a wrestler. Like, it would be kind of like embarrassing, And I thought that would go away when I finally made it. Obviously that's embarrassing to tell people at like college parties when you're making $20 for wrestling, you're wrestling in your underwear in front of 20 people. Of course that's embarrassing. But I thought the moment like, I start making money and stuff, I'm on TV, like that will go away. When I got signed, it didn't go away. I was like, dang, I'm still embarrassed to tell people that I'm a wrestler. And I realized over time, like, the reason why I feel embarrassed is because I felt like I wasn't contributing to society. You know what I'm saying? I would see people who was like teachers, doctors, even people who worked at like grocery stores, something like that. I'm like, okay, you guys are contributing members to society. I felt like what I was doing was like the most selfish thing in the world. And I felt really embarrassed about that. But over the past couple of years, on my journey with God, I feel like he's revealed to me, you're in this for a reason. And the reason is not to go on stage and tell all these fans, like, follow God. It's to show your heart to people around you, and make influence in those locker rooms. Show these people what a life of Jesus is like. And I feel like I prayed, once God revealed that to me, I started praying more like, God, just give me opportunities to, talk about you and, have conversations about you. And like, since I started praying like that, like every week at work, I don't even got to try. The conversations just come to me. And then all of a sudden we're having like conversations in catering with like 15 of us about the historicity of Christianity and about faith conversations and stuff like that. So I think that's why I'm a wrestler. I always thought I was a wrestler to, one, because I was good at it, or to be a wrestler, two, to, you know, show my faith through my performance. And then God was like, no, you're not here for either of those things. You know, you're here to show the people that are close to you, that see you every single week on a weekly basis. You're here to show them the heart of God. And I feel like that's what I try to do every week. So every week, like, obviously I try to go in and have the best match that I possibly can. But now the mission is just so much bigger. You know, it's just so much bigger every week. So,
woo, my brother, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You know what? I was having a conversation this morning with somebody. And sometimes if we're not careful, right, we can be that wrestler, that businessman, actor, actress, you know, big, massive stage, or pastor, and we say certain things on a platform, but what good is that if behind the scenes your life does not match?
Facts.
Right? So like you said, that C.S. Lewis quote, brilliant, right? You can put a crucifix or a Jesus fish on your uniform, in your office. You can have all the posters, all the coffee mugs. You can talk about it everywhere, but if behind the scenes, in the locker rooms, in the offices, in the places and spaces where there are no cameras, if you are not the same person, if you are not the same person that's being molded and shaped by the Spirit of God, if you really aren't a disciple, you will be found out. Sooner or later. People are like, that's not the same persona that you're putting out there on a ring or on a stage or on a performance or on a platform, on a pulpit, whatever it may be. And I'm sorry, behind the scenes is way more valuable than in front of the cameras. And so what you are doing is absolute gold. What you just said, it is absolutely brilliant. There's too many people that I've walked into their offices and seen the Jesus fish and seen their, yet their work ethic is not the same.
Yeah.
You know, they are not the best businessmen or businesswomen. They are not people of their words. They are not punctual. They're not, and it's like, why do Christians have to lower the standard? Let's raise the standard, not just in our preaching, teaching, or what we say, but in how we live and carry ourselves. So you're being a light, and you're being a light where it matters in people's lives day to day when you're having those conversations.
Thank you.
And I'm sure a lot of people are saying God is doing something in this guy's life. I've known him for a few years, and he's talking different. He's moving different.
Yeah, I was like, there's definitely times where like people try to, you know, talk about, you know, old things.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, you want to go do this? I'm like, I can't no more, bro.
Wow.
Like, that's not me no more. And, you know, like they were talking about at a conference, like it's a new wine. Like can't be in the old wineskins no more. You
come
gonna
on.
burst out. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, man, I'm beyond encouraged by your life. To see all that God has done in your life, to see this new journey that you're in. You're being a light. Keep shining, brother.
And I'm encouraged by your life too, Pastor Alex. You're the man. Like, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for obviously, you know, stewarding such a great church. So.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, and grateful to have you a part of it.
Because I will say, like, you know, being part of Calvary, it's really changed my life for the better. So I just want to thank you and give you your flowers in front of all the thrivers out there. So.
Dude, thank you so much. Well, we're all praying for you, and with you, you keep shining a light, and we're praying that you would have incredible, meaningful conversations, and that people see what a real disciple looks like. And last year we went through this series where we said I'm a disciple, and the difference between a Christian and a disciple. And I love that. Yes, we are Christians, but I love that word disciple a little bit more, because nowadays everybody's a Christian, and it's like, wait, but when you're a disciple, and I think you're showing that, you're moving in that, and the Spirit of God is at work in your life. Thank you for hanging with us for the last few moments here and talk a little bit about your journey. And we're going to keep encouraging you. Whatever we can do, we want to see you keep being a light. And as you go to all those locker rooms and all those conversations you have, the Lord's going to use you mightily. So proud of you, Daniel.
Thank you.
And encouraged by you. And so thank you for being with us on Thrive. I will finish with this last thing. What's one more thing you want to tell a young person, a young man, a young woman that is going after a dream, is trying, is in that moment right now, maybe feeling a little lost. Like, am I doing, is it enough? I feel like I'm not going to make it, and what's the most important thing? If you can encourage them with one last thing, what would you say?
So I would say this is in any aspect of life. This is in faith. This is in creative endeavors, physical endeavors. Discipline will always, always, always outlast motivation. It's really going to be easy on days where you're motivated to work hard, to get up, to go after what you want to do. But motivation is really fleeting, and that's why people do so much start-stop things in their life. So I will say if you remain disciplined, that will always outlast motivation, because discipline is everlasting and motivation is fleeting. That'd be the message I would give people for
Thank you,
success
my brother.
in whatever they want to do.
Thank you. That was absolutely amazing. Again, thank you for stopping by. We love you, and we're going to keep cheering you on, watching you all over the world. And I'm going to go on a match soon.
Yes,
I'm going to go. I'll jump on the ring, and I'll practice some of those tricks.
In the stomach.
Yeah. But appreciate you. Always remember, Thrivers, that if you change yourself, you can change your world.